The text message flashed across my phone screen, innocuous, seemingly from a coworker. Meeting confirmed. Usual place, 7 p.m. It was addressed to my wife, Melissa. The problem was, Melissa had told me she was having dinner with her sister. A sick feeling coiled in my gut. Usual place sounded far too familiar, too coded. Something was terribly wrong. I'd noticed the subtle shifts in Melissa's behavior over the past few months, the whispered phone calls, the late nights at work, the new perfume she claimed was a gift from a friend. My gut had been screaming at me, but I'd stubbornly ignored it, clinging to the image of the happy marriage we'd built over 10 years. Now, staring at that text, denial was no longer an option. The usual place turned out to be a secluded wine bar nestled in a quiet corner of the city. I arrived early, heart hammering against my ribs, and sat at the bar nursing a whiskey, watching the entrance. At 7:05 p.m., Melissa walked in, radiant in a dress I'd never seen before. Her eyes scanned the room, a nervous flicker in the depths. Then, she saw him. Aiden, our architect. He'd designed the extension on our house last year. He'd been a frequent guest at our dinner table, a seemingly harmless friend. The way they embraced, the lingering kiss that followed, shattered the fragile remains of my denial. The whiskey burned a path down my throat. My world tilted on its axis. I waited until they were settled in a secluded booth, their laughter echoing in the hushed atmosphere of the bar, before I approached. I stood beside their table, my shadow falling across their entwined hands. Melissa's head snapped up, her eyes widening in shock, a gasp escaping her lips. The color drained from her face. Aiden, arrogant and oblivious until that moment, finally registered my presence. His face paled. "John," Melissa stammered, her voice barely a whisper. I can explain." "Explain what, Melissa?" My voice was surprisingly calm, the quiet before the storm. "Explain how you've been systematically dismantling our marriage, piece by piece, lie by lie." Aiden started to speak, some pathetic attempt at justification forming on his lips, but I cut him off. "Don't," I said, my voice laced with ice. "Don't insult me with your excuses." I turned back to Melissa, the woman I'd loved, the woman who had betrayed me in the most profound way. "You know, Melissa," I said, my voice cracking slightly, "I thought we had something special. I thought we were a team. I was wrong." The scene that followed was ugly. Melissa's tears, Aiden's stammering apologies, my own barely contained rage, created a vortex of pain and betrayal. The other patrons in the bar, initially curious, quickly averted their gaze, uncomfortable witnesses to this very public implosion. I left them there, amidst the wreckage of their lies, and drove home, the city lights blurring through the tears that finally came. The house felt empty, hollowed out by deceit. I spent the next few days in a daze, the reality of my shattered life sinking in. But then, something shifted. The pain began to morph into a steely resolve. I wouldn't let the betrayal define me. I wouldn't let them win. I contacted a lawyer, initiating divorce proceedings. I meticulously documented Melissa's financial indiscretions, the hidden accounts, the lavish gifts she'd showered on Aiden. I also contacted Aiden's wife, a quiet, unassuming woman named Lisa. The phone call was difficult, but necessary. Her shocked silence on the other end of the line mirrored my own initial disbelief. The fallout was swift and brutal. Aiden's wife left him, taking their 2 children with her. His reputation, carefully cultivated over years, crumbled to dust. His architectural firm, built on trust and integrity, lost clients. He became a pariah in our small community. Melissa, stripped of the comfortable life she'd taken for granted, faced the consequences of her choices. She lost the house, the car, the social standing she'd clung to so desperately. The divorce settlement left her with little more than the clothes on her back. She tried to contact me, pleading for forgiveness, claiming she'd made a mistake, but I refused to engage. The damage was irreparable. The revenge, however, wasn't the satisfaction I craved. The real victory came months later, when the raw pain began to subside. I found solace in rebuilding my life, brick by brick. I started a new business, pouring my energy into something positive, something that belonged solely to me. I reconnected with old friends, neglected during the tumultuous years of my marriage. I rediscovered passions I'd forgotten I possessed. One evening, I was having dinner with a friend at a new restaurant, laughter filling the air, a genuine smile on my face. Across the room, I saw Melissa. She was sitting alone, her eyes dull, her clothes worn. She looked defeated, a shell of the vibrant woman I'd once loved. Our eyes met for a fleeting moment. There was no anger, no resentment, just a profound sadness. Then, she looked away, and I turned back to my friend, the conversation flowing easily, the past finally receding into the background. The true revenge, I realized, wasn't the destruction of their lives, but the reconstruction of my own. I had emerged from the ashes, stronger, wiser, and finally, free.